Bonjour et bienvenue à notre rendez-vous quotidien pour la presse en ligne et en direct sur EBS. Nous sommes aujourd'hui le jeudi 12 août. Nous n'avons pas d'annonce particulière à vous faire aujourd'hui et donc je passe immédiatement à vos questions. Je vois que Mose a une question. Mose, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much, Eric, and good to see you again. I missed the previous press briefing on Monday, but I know on that day there was a technical briefing on Afghanistan, and I suppose that this reflects, the focus of EU's foreign policy and diplomacy. So my question is very simple. I just wonder if the Commission also, or actually plans to organize a similar technical briefing about another hotspot or conflict in the world. I'm thinking about Lebanon, where there was a international conference last week. It's considered a failed state, and the EU is also obviously planning some kind of sanctions against the governments there. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think it's more a request than a question. We have no plans at this point in time for a technical briefing on the situation in Lebanon, but I take note of your suggestion. Let me just point out that the technical briefing which was held was prompted both by the evolutions on the ground in Afghanistan, but also at the border between the EU and Belarus, and it is those two elements taken together that led us to organize this technical briefing. Of course, we are always at your disposal for specific questions on Lebanon, should you have any, and you can contact the Foreign Affairs team for that. Are there other questions on foreign affair related issues for us today? Foreign affairs? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Mark Belly, AFP. Apparently it's for Miriam. I just want to get some background for what's happening with Afghanistan. Now, a month ago, ECHO put out figures on the situation there, the needs there, and I was wondering if they are still valid. Close to 12.5 million people, critically food insecure, and 18.5 million people requiring or could require humanitarian assistance. Are they still valid, those figures?
Yeah.
Thank you for your question. I'm covering for Bala, so this is the information I have. Given the intensity of the conflict and the level of humanitarian needs, the EU's priority is to provide life-saving assistance, and in 2021, the EU allocated close to 57 million euro in humanitarian support. The 2021 funding will ensure critical relief assistance to the most vulnerable, including victims of war, forced displacement, and natural hazards. Interventions focus on providing emergency health care, shelter, food assistance, access to clean water and sanitation facilities, as well as various protection services targeting women and children. This year's funding is also addressing the food insecurity and health emergencies related to the spring drought, the conflict, and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The support for COVID-19 patients and preventing the further spread of the virus is part of the continuous funding.
Thanks, Miriam. I think your question was more related to the estimates of the figures of the needs. Now, I'm not sure where your figures came from. You kept me a bit blank. I'm not sure those were Commission figures that you are mentioning, in which case we will need to check whether we have new updated figures. It would be nice if, when you have such technical questions, you tell us in advance so that we can actually then give you an answer here on the podium. Perhaps you did, but apparently we did not see it before midday. So we'll come back to you on any updated figures if and when we have any. Okay? Thank you. Any other questions on foreign affairs for us today? I do not see any. Do we have other issues? Beatrice.
Thank you, Rick. Yes, I have a question because you might be aware that prices of energy are hitting all-time highs in Spain as the country goes through a heat wave. And the government is blaming this situation on the international markets and particularly on the prices of gas and the carbon prices as well. And is asking actually the Commission to intervene in those markets. So I was wondering, first of all, whether you share this assessment, whether you have an answer to these requests from the Spanish government, and also to what extent the member states have leverage to influence the prices respecting the competition rules of the EU. Thanks.
Thank you. That is a very vast question. Let's see what Vivian, who is replacing Tim, can tell you on energy market related questions.
Thank you very much for the question, Beatrice. I hope you can hear me well. So where we are with this, we are indeed aware of the issue. Executive Vice President Timmermans has also received a letter from the Spanish minister on that and has answered. We are aware of the discussions in Spain about the recent wholesale electricity price fluctuations and of the measures that are taken by the government in relation to reducing the overall cost of electricity bills. And we continue to monitor the situation. As you were referring to yourself, during the pandemic, we saw wholesale electricity prices at record lows, so some increases from there were expected. And the high prices that have been observed are the result of a combination of factors, largely driven by significant global gas demand and higher ETS prices, combined with high seasonal demand due to the economic recovery and the weather conditions that we've observed in Spain lately. Overall, in the Commission, we very much believe that an integrated European energy market is the most cost-effective way to ensure secure and affordable energy supplies to European citizens. Through the common energy market rules and cross-border infrastructure, energy can be produced in one EU country and delivered to consumer in another, creating competition and keeping prices in check. And these rules also create new price signals to drive investments into new and flexible technologies to support the transition to climate neutrality. In that context, of course, the important work that we're doing in having a larger extent of renewable.
I think we have a technical issue
in our energy.
Vivian, we missed part of your answer. Did you cut her off? Okay. We missed the end of your answer there.
Sorry, I will try again then. I just wanted to again make the push the important point that we have on the consumers, that they are really at the center of our energy policy, and we need to ensure that vulnerable consumers are protected. The European legislation allows member states to apply safeguards, such as public intervention in price setting for supply of electricity to energy poor or vulnerable household customers under certain conditions. And also the European Energy Poverty Advisory Hub provides direct support and training to local authorities and civil society organizations working on energy poverty. So this, I think, gives you a general overview of where we are, well aware of the situation, observing it, and seeing how we can help on our side. Thank you.
Beatrice, you have a follow-up.
Yes, a very quick one. Just on that final point that Vivian made, I was wondering if you are aware of the Spanish government actually making use of those safeguards, especially to protect vulnerable households in this situation. Thank you.
Vivian.
Thank you, Beatrice. On this specific point, I will have to come back to you.
Thank you. Are there other questions for us today on energy-related issues? Laia. On energy.
Hi, hello.
On energy.
Hello, yeah, I was wondering because I missed the opportunity to ask about Afghanistan. I don't know if I could raise a question now or should I wait a bit later?
If I say we're taking questions on energy, Afghanistan is not really part of that. So if you don't mind, we will come back to your question after that. On energy, yes, please.
Yeah, this is Maria García Cernoza from Público. It's a follow-up from my colleague on energy. So the Spanish government has actually blamed the European Commission for the high prices in Spain right now. So do you assume this, do you take this responsibility? And in this context, I don't know, Vivian, if you are willing to check the current energy policy after what is happening in Spain, which is reaching high levels this day. Thank you.
No, let me be very clear. We are not going to get into a debate with anyone about the current state of the energy markets. The fact is, as Vivian has just pointed out, that we have a very structured and ambitious policy when it comes to energy. And the Commission has been pushing and continues to push for an integrated energy market that is there to ensure that energy flows in the European Union are as efficient and as cost-effective as possible. And there are many dimensions to this policy, one of which is also, as Vivian has said, the protection of vulnerable consumers. So our position is that the European Union should continue to work on making sure that its energy policy works as much as possible, and that is what the Commission has been striving for and continues to strive for. Are there other questions on energy policy for us today? Please only keep your hand raised if it is on this. Laura.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, it's only a follow-up to Beatrice's question. You have said that Commissioner Timmermans has responded to Minister Rivera's letter. I was wondering if you could share the content of that response. Thank you.
Thank you. Vivian.
Thank you very much. I think we'll check if the letter has been made public or not, but the response goes very much in the same line as what I was explaining. Within the European Union, where we're looking at is that we have this common energy policy, but we also have moved away from regulators setting the power market prices, because that older system was expensive, inefficient, and dominated by a few large companies which controlled the sector. We have deliberately worked on moving away from that previous position. So our electricity market for the moment is designed in a way that the electricity generation plant with the lowest cost is dispatched first. And this is what we are looking at when we want to aim at giving the best services possible to the customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no further questions on energy policy. So Laia, I come back to your question on Afghanistan. I think it was Laia. We had you briefly on screen.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was wondering if there is more up-to-date data about how many people have applied for asylum from Afghanistan. And also, I was wondering if the EU has asked its members to also allocate Afghan local workers that were working on the mission of the EU to be received by the European countries. And that's it. Thank you.
Nabila, you take both questions? Or the first one is for Adalbert? Huh? Yeah, Adalbert will take the first question, and Nabila will take your second question. Adalbert.
Hi, thank you very much. About the figures, let me just maybe point to the fact that when it comes to figures on asylum requests, they come with a certain delay, because it takes a while for national authorities to gather this data and then for it to be validated on the European level to be comparable. So I do not believe that we have live data on this. For the most up-to-date figures, I would suggest that you look at the website of the European Asylum Support Office, which is collecting them and making them available. But we will not, especially in the midday briefing, be able to provide day-by-day updates on this, just as a service announcement for future questions in case they come. Thanks.
Thank you, Nabila.
Thanks, Laia. And on your second question about the local staff, I mean, the ongoing withdrawal of the international military presence in Afghanistan causes many Afghan nationals working as local staff members for the European Union in Kabul to seek protection against possible act of physical of reprisal from the Taliban. The EU takes the security concerns very seriously and is working hard together with EU member states on finding solutions, and the decisions whether to grant visa or international protection is a member state's competence.
Thank you. I only see one. No, Laia, you have a follow-up. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was wondering, you just mentioned that the decision on whether to take asylum seekers to the countries is on the countries alone. But I was wondering, because there was that letter that 6 countries were asking to stop the devolutions of Afghan migrants. I was wondering what do you think of that, and also like what do you think about some of the countries saying that they will stop the deportations? Thank you.
No, Laia, I'm sorry, but those are things which we have extensively addressed during the technical briefing, and there is no direct link between the letter on the issue of returns and the issue of EU staff based in Afghanistan. So I'm afraid that we have nothing further to add on this issue. Okay, since we are back on Afghanistan, let me see if there are any other questions on this issue. Niels, you have a question on Afghanistan. Niels, we can hear background music, but we can neither see you nor hear you. Okay, we go to Christian.
Oui, juste une petite question pratique. Le 18 août, il y a une réunion des ministres de l'Intérieur de l'Union européenne qui a été convoquée par la présidence slovène. J'imagine que la Commission européenne sera représentée. Ma première question, c'est qui va représenter la Commission européenne? Est-ce que c'est Madame Johansson qui participera à cette visioconférence? Et ma seconde question, on fait une réunion des ministres de l'Intérieur. Est-ce qu'on ne va parler exclusivement que du problème posé par les migrants qui arrivent en Biélorussie via l'Irak, ou est-ce qu'on va étendre le champ de la discussion et avoir une première discussion sur le problème qui risque de poser l'afflux de réfugiés venant d'Afghanistan? Merci.
Christian, sur ta deuxième question, je pense qu'il faut que tu t'adresses au Conseil, puisque c'est le Conseil qui fixe l'ordre du jour des réunions des ministres des Affaires intérieures. En l'occurrence, en ce qui concerne la première question, je ne sais pas si nous avons déjà une réponse à t'apporter, mais je me tourne vers Adalbert.
Merci. Juste peut-être une précision. Il s'agit a priori non pas d'une réunion des ministres des Affaires intérieures, mais d'une réunion au niveau ministériel de ce qu'on appelle IPCR, Integrated Political Crisis Response, donc une formation au sein du Conseil qui permet de suivre de manière globale les différentes crises auxquelles l'Union européenne peut être confrontée. Donc c'est une réunion plus large qu'une réunion des ministres des Affaires intérieures. Et je pense qu'effectivement, il faudrait que tu t'adresses plus à la présidence slovène pour les détails de cette réunion, ainsi que aussi la composition des différentes délégations, ou en tout cas les invitations qui vont être adressées aux ministres. Du côté de la Commission, nous allons communiquer dès que tous ces éléments seront clairs pour vous annoncer qui exactement sera là.
Donc il est un peu trop tôt pour pouvoir malheureusement répondre à ta question, Christian. Y a-t-il d'autres questions affaires étrangères pour nous aujourd'hui? Ça n'est pas le cas. Y a-t-il d'autres questions? Raph.
Yes, hello, good morning. I was just have a question on Poland, if I may. There was the vote in the Polish parliament yesterday evening, and I wonder whether you have any comments on the outcome and to what extent the Commission has any fears that media freedom is now under threat in Poland. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ralph. I'm sure you will have seen the tweet from Vice President Jourova on this issue this morning as to our concerns on media freedom, and pluralism in Poland. We have expressed these already in the last two, I believe, rule of law reports. So the situation on this is quite clear from our position on this is on media freedom and pluralism is quite clear. Any other questions on this for us today? Emanuele, is it on this issue? C'est ce qu'on appelle un parfait contre-jour en photographie. Emanuele, we cannot hear you. We can see your shadow, but we cannot hear you. It's better now in terms of picture, but not yet in terms of sound. You need to check your mic source. Okay, Emanuele, I will ask you perhaps to contact us bilaterally with your question, since we seem to be having some technical issues. Are there other questions for us today? Oui, Marie.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Maria Audrescu pour la Libre Belgique. Toujours sur la Pologne, est-ce que cette loi est un domaine ou un sujet que vous pouvez aborder, que vous suivez aussi dans le cadre de vos discussions sur le plan de relance polonais? Est-ce que les deux sont liés? Merci.
Alors, je vais passer la parole à Ariane, mais je crois que tu connais aussi bien que moi la réponse à cette question, Maria. Il y a un certain nombre de critères dans le règlement RRF, et c'est sur base de ces critères que nous menons l'analyse. Je passe la parole à Ariana si elle veut donner plus de précisions.
Merci Eric, merci pour la question. Ça que Eric a dit, c'est correct, tout à fait. On regarde les plans polonais sur la base des 11 critères qu'on a déjà expliqué plusieurs fois dans la salle de presse. Et la question qui t'a posée, c'est une question parallèle mais différente. Donc, c'est pas tout à fait lié exactement à l'évaluation des plans de relance. La base, c'est toujours les 11 critères. Donc, j'ai pas beaucoup à ajouter à ça.
Merci. Emanuele, I can see your question in the chat. Are you going to ask for information clarification to the Polish government? You know that as a policy, we do not comment on draft laws. Let me remind you that according to our information, the legislative process in Poland still has a certain number of steps to go through. It has only gone through a first vote in the lower house of parliament. And therefore, it's way too early for us to comment. We are obviously following the situation, and we will analyze the law if and when it becomes final. Are there other questions for us on this issue today? Paola, is there a question on this? You need to check your mic source as well.
Hello, yes.
Yeah.
No, it's not, but it's for Ariana, so I'll hold.
Stay online because I see no other hand raised anyway, so go ahead. Oh, now we've lost you. Go ahead.
Hi again. I would like to ask to Ariana, there have been media reports that the deadline for compliance with the Commission's requests of divestments from the Alstom-Bombardier merger that was cleared last year has passed, but that the companies have not complied with the requirements, which were subject to divestments from certain plants. What does that mean? Does it mean that the merger for you is not cleared? Are you in touch with the companies? What are the next steps? Thank you very much.
Ariana.
Thank you, Paola. Thank you, Eric. What I can say, well, I have no comment on your specific question, but what I can say is that on the 31st of July last year, so 2020, the Commission has approved the acquisition of Bombardier by Alstom, subject to certain commitments, including the divestment of Bombardier's assets currently contributing to its joint venture in a very high-speed platform with Hitachi, the Zefiro V300 of Alstom's mainline Corradia polyvalent platform, of Alstom's production facility located in Reichshofen in France, of Bombardier's mainline Talent 3 platform, and of part of Bombardier's production facility located in Hennigsdorf in Germany. We cannot comment on the deadline for the parties to implement the commitments, which is considered as confidential information. What I can also add is that the Commission is monitoring the correct implementation of the decision based on input from a monitoring trustee.
Thank you very much. Paula, you have a follow-up.
Yes, please. Thank you, Eric. I wanted to understand which commitments have the companies fulfilled and which not, if you can confirm that. And I understand that you cannot talk about the deadline, but maybe you can give us an idea of what happens if these commitments are not met. Thanks.
Ariana.
Thank you, Paola. So on the second question, I'm really afraid I cannot speculate. And on the first part, as I said, this is considered all confidential information. We are monitoring the implementation of the commitments also through a monitoring trustee, but I cannot enter into the specifics.
Sorry for that, Paola. You know this is usually the case in competition cases. Any other questions for us today? That is not the case, so thank you very much. Bon appétit, and we will meet again next Tuesday. Thank you.